What is up, everybody? Welcome. Happy to have all you guys here today. Hang on. I do want to make sure that the Discord audio has the right output because I've made that mistake several times recently, and so I want to make sure that we got the right output there. All right, Fox, say some stuff. Nope. Okay, hang on. Let me go ahead and. Okay, so hey everybody, before we get started today, here is my question for you all.
Thank you for pronouncing the glottal stop in y'all.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, cool. Now we have your audio. For you all of you, it's
All
officially spooky season, and
True.
so here's
True.
my question: what are some of your favorite spooky movies to watch over in this time of year, or even movies in general that just like celebrate this time of year, and why? So your favorite this time of year movies and why? I would immediately point to my shelf over here and all the Nightmare Before Christmas stuff, but my stupid LED lights are freaking out and they're like blinking like they're trying to send some sort of message out into the world, and so
They should use that in a TV show.
yeah.
They could call it Things That Are Stranger Than Others.
Justic says, gasp, Fox has good audio. This changes everything. Yes, I have selected the correct input, and his microphone is facing him this time. So,
Well, that one was me and also my son. That one he's a tech noob. So
how dare he? What is he? 1.5, something like that.
he just turned 2.
Just turned 2. Yeah. So how dare he, as a 2-year-old, not be able to handle a Yeti microphone? So, Bera, my dude. Welcome. Glad you're here. We're discussing, before we start here, we're discussing what scary movies or spooky movies or whatever movies do you like to watch during this sort of year to celebrate the season. So, okay. I like to watch, one of my favorite scary movies is The Others. Have you seen The Others with Nicole Kidman?
I have not.
So this movie,
I know about it.
I enjoy a ton because it is not, there's like no blood, no gore. It's not,
Sounds boring.
one jump scare in the entire movie. Everything, kind of like The Shining, where although there is like blood and violence in The Shining,
there's at least one scene with quite a bit of blood. Roughly an elevator's
or
worth.
or grape juice. You don't know for sure. Or a nice Cabernet. You don't know.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
So, but my point being that, like in The Shining, The Others builds this just eerie tension throughout the entire film that makes you just feel fear. You're not afraid of anything. You're not worried about anyone. You're not thinking that thing is just around the corner. It's just,
That I do find that to be some of the best. There's a lot of good horror movies that I actually don't like to watch because they spook me. They genuinely spook me, and I don't want that. I won't be able to sleep. But I do think a lot of the best horror movies that exist are ones that are like you're saying, not necessarily like definitely not like jump scary, or that are more like unsettling and leave you like kind of creeped out, rather than just like, oh, that was scary, now time to leave. So I would say that The Witch is maybe one of my favorite horror movies. I mean, it's an excellent movie in general, but just as a like creepy, unsettling, it's a movie from 2015. It's by Robert Eggers. It's basically about a the 1600s 1600s New England family. They are essentially cast out of their village for being too religiously like too zealous, and basically have to go live out on the edge of these woods by themselves. And then there's just like this general idea of what's in the woods. I mean, it also gets very like, it's not really ambiguous a lot of the time, for sure.
Right.
But it just has this general like creepy atmosphere, and It's so good. It's so good.
Gistic says the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Mm-hmm,
That's a
mm-hmm,
good one because I
mm-hmm.
mean, I don't know if you might be like joking a little bit, but it actually is a really good one because it brings this whimsical, sort of dress up feel that Halloween is meant to carry. But at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
there are some like unsettling things about that movie, legitimate
There's some
unsettling
weird stuff that
things.
goes on in there. Yeah, famously, it was what's his name? The Willy Wonka.
What's his name? He's also Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, Gene
Simmons, not Gene Simmons, Gene Wilder.
Gene Simmons.
Gene Wilder.
Gene Simmons as Willy Wonka would be the best. He gets the next turn after Timothy Chalamet. No, he famously said, like, I think it was his idea to do his whole like, I'm an old man, and then do a somersault at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you never knew if he was joking or not throughout the rest of the movie. Like, you always could, like, we're wondering, is this another goof? Is he actually, like, to never trust him, which is such a weird way to talk about, like, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, is a children's book and isn't really that way.
Right,
like,
right.
He approached it in like a let's keep people guessing, and then you have the famous like Chocolate River boat scene, which is terrifying and manic.
Barra says anything with Tim Curry, and my dude, that is such a good recommend. Like, literally, is there anything with Tim Curry? The only one I could think of that would not be good for Halloween time is Home Alone 2, and that's because that's more appropriate for Christmas time.
And it's not really a Tim Curry vehicle.
No. But I mean, like, Clue, Rocky Horror Picture Show, what's the original It, of course. What's the one, the animated one? Ferngully, he's the voice of the villain in Ferngully. Like, these are all great whimsical or scary or spooky or whatever type of films. Man, I need to watch Clue. I think I've told you this 150 times, Fox, but chat, I don't know if you know this, but if you play the game Clue, it's a whodunit board game, and you are trying to guess who committed the murder at the end, and, you're trying to deduce all the clues and whatnot. Well, in the movie, when it was in theaters, there were 3 or 4 different endings that it could have been, and anytime you went to the theater, you got a random ending. You don't know which ending you would have gotten. And so you could leave the theater and then go talk to a friend who saw it last week and be like, oh, I was crazy at the end when blank happened. And they'd be like, what are you talking about? Blank happened. Or to find out this person was the killer. What? That was not the killer. This person was the killer. If you watch it on like a streaming service today or whatever else, they have all of them after one another.
They just repeat the same.
It says, that's how it could have happened, or here's another way it could have happened, but this is how it really happened. And, they submit one of them as the true ending. But, man, so good. Also, go ahead, what?
Did you know that, a little off topic, did you know that Across the Spider-Verse did that a little?
Yeah, I did know.
Across the Spider-Verse had some variations of scenes across different showings and which is really fun when you're talking about a multiverse type thing.
Exactly.
Just everything slightly different,
So at first people said, hey, there are different versions of it. Here you go. And they submitted there was different lines. And what they said was, actually, it's not different lines. There was localization issues and slang that wouldn't make sense in other languages or in other countries. And so we changed it for that reason. It's not really different, for that way. But then other people are like, no, look, this person moves a different way, or this person does a different gesture here. And they're like, okay, that one's true.
You got us there.
One. Yep. So that's cool. It's really, really cool. All right. Any last submissions before we get into our podcast on good spoopy movies to watch? I mean, the classic always is Hocus Pocus. I think the Hocus Pocus film is a near perfect film in as much as it does everything that it's trying to do. Like, it is everything that it wants to be and does it great, does it outstanding. Is it a good movie? Yes, it's a good movie. Is it an outstanding film? No, I don't think so. But is it doing everything that it wants to do? Yeah, it really is, and it's super fun. Hocus Pocus 2 was a massive disappointment. And then in our Discord, somebody just shared the poster for coming soon Hocus Pocus 3.
Oh, you gotta conclude the epic trilogy,
or
the Hokai Pokai trilogy.
They die in both of them. they have canonically died 3 times now.
No, this time you're gonna find the protagonists are gonna find the phylacteries and kill them for good.
There you go. That's exactly what it is. The liches that are the Sanderson sisters.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Hey, we're going to be starting a podcast here in just a second. Because of that, we are not going to be interacting with the chat while we podcast, because eventually we want to be able to syndicate these, and we'll probably be doing because we do every other week right now, but once we're able to start syndicating these, we can do 1 week on and then a Nerdy Gritty Classic, and then 1 week on and then Nerdy Gritty Classic, because we have this bulk of ones that we have yet to syndicate yet. So
hundreds of episodes.
Yeah. So it'll be really nice for us to be able to put out weekly content, but only have to record every other day. But with that being said, it's hard to release a podcast where they're interacting with a chat that you can't see. So, but with that being said, stick around and actually post everything that you want to talk about in the chat, because after the stream, we come back, or not after the stream, after the podcast, we come back and we discuss, we scroll backward through all the comments, and we pick things to talk about and things to mention, and we go over everything that was said, and we do talk about it after that. Then we hit back on that stuff. So stick around. We're going to be podcasting here, but that also means I should probably stop this cool groovy music. There we go. All right, it's done. And then I should pull up my notes. There they are. Okay. Hey, Fox, are you ready to podcast?
See.
All right. In 3, 2. Today on the Nerdy Gritty, how should games handle religious titles and iconography?
One more world disappears inside it. Just another hopeless addict. World that makes a man insane. If the drums don't get you, the guitars will.
Yep. Hey, hello, everybody. This is a great podcast intro. Don't worry about it.
You did. It's okay. I accidentally hit the outro button and then immediately I was like, oh no, and then hit the intro button. We got it. Okay.
It's okay. We've only done this 300 times.
Yeah.
Welcome. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I am your druid shaman Fox.
And I am your actual religious leader, Dez.
That's what I said.
Right, no, but you're not actually a druid, but you and I are actual pastors.
You don't know that.
Oh.
Maybe I do both because I'm cool and hip. Hey, you know what we need to talk about more here on the Nerdy Gritty?
We need to talk about the fact that I just realized you're wearing a nearly 20-year-old shirt.
Yeah, this is the shirt that you gave me that you bought when I was in high school.
Yes, I cannot believe you still have that shirt.
Why not? I don't need to buy another one. It still works.
Well, for me, it's that my shirts are literally falling apart within 5 years of me getting them. I don't know what I do to my shirts, but
yeah, no, this one is falling apart. The collar really sucks on this one, but
it's legit falling to pieces, but it's comfy and I'm wearing it.
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. What we all really need to talk about more is politics.
Oh,
this needs to become a very political. I mean, we talk about politics fairly often when it's related, and luckily there's another story that is very much related to gaming. So, everybody's favorite president, Donald Trump, is facing a lot of legal troubles right now.
Was he, honest question, was he the least popular president in history?
I don't know if there's any real way to gauge that.
No, they do have popularity, approval ratings. I don't think he was the least. I think it might have been Nixon.
Sure, I don't know if those approval ratings, you can really trust them.
Yeah. Anyway.
Because also, we should also remember that there have been 4 presidents who have been assassinated. And that might be a signifier. That's not how we measure.
Just because one person hates them to that extent.
I don't know.
Oof.
Anyway,
Oof.
so old Trumpy, old Donald Trump is currently facing a lot of legal issues. Famously, a whole lot of legal issues. He a trial actually started for his it's a fraud related trial. I don't know which one specifically, but what has some of the internet just really excited is that one of his lawyers has been, there's a photograph of him with his, counsel and stuff sitting there, and they don't look happy, surprisingly. But one of his lawyers has a Asus ROG gamer laptop.
She legit has my laptop.
Yes.
She's sitting there with the same laptop I use for when I'm traveling and I want to game / edit / things like that.
It's a 2070 Ti Asus laptop with blue underglow.
She came just in case she also needed to frag noobs while she was there.
Well, here's the thing. That's the question. Here's the question I want to ask that we need to answer. What game could she play in the middle of the trial and most plausibly be able to explain and get away with? How could she be playing a video game in the middle of the trial and then people ask her about it and she say, oh no, it was because of this? What game should she play?
Phoenix Wright. Absolutely, it's right
Ace
there.
Attorney.
Ace Attorney, it's right there. And she's saying, this is part of my defense. This is helping me deliver the correct.
Yeah, I'm learning how to be a lawyer right now.
Excuse me, are you gaming? Objection. She just shouts and points.
Did we win?
Yeah, that's it. There we got it. We got it.
I mean, not to insult her personally, but it doesn't seem like the smartest career move to represent Donald Trump, based on what has happened previously to other lawyers that he has, had. And so it just seems like maybe she isn't the most experienced. Maybe she doesn't know. And so maybe we need to get some Ace Attorney up in here to learn what an objection is, learn how to present evidence. The other way I think she could possibly say oh no, it's because of this. She needs to play something extremely hard, super hardcore and super focused necessary, like competitive, StarCraft or something where you have to be on point. You have to be lots of actions, lots of paying attention required.
Yeah, what do they call them? APS, action per second. Is that what it is in StarCraft?
I think it's APM, actions per minute,
action
or something
per minute.
like that.
I think it's I think it's per second.
That would that would make sense.
Yeah.
How many actual productive clicks you're making? How many actual productive? Right. It's crazy. Anyway, yeah.
I'm looking it up.
So that way, here's my reasoning. Here's what she should do. That way, when she's asked about it,
you're right. It's M.
You can. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you could just do the math. Divide it by 60. But when she's asked about it, hey, why were you playing, Hearts of Iron 4 or some hardcore RTS or something like that or whatever? Oh, and she could just say, oh, I'm not worried about this trial. They got nothing.
Oh,
I actually wanted
bring that heat.
I actually wanted a challenge.
Yeah, so something that's really going to take my attention here,
I just rolled a hardcore character on old school World of Warcraft. It's going to be fine. I'm not worried about the trial. This is what's more important to me right now.
And then their lawyers peek over her shoulder yeah, but your APM are terrible. The Zerg is rushing you and you're getting crushed. Oh no.
The judge calls him up to the bench, and the judge just looks straight at her, and it's just you got to get good. You got to get good.
The opponent comes in with his briefcase and unzips it and pulls out an actual full tower monitor all in there, like Mary Poppins style, just reaching in and pulling stuff out.
Oh, what's that? A wireless keyboard? Oh, okay.
No, what I think, I mean, if she really wanted to flex, she's got to get in there with Steel Battalion. She's got to get in there with the full rig, setting up like joysticks and like switch, like she just the whole console all around her.
Multiple screens.
And then she's saying, "This is how much I care about protecting our country. I am learning to pilot a mech so that when the foreigners come, I can fight them."
Council, are you playing Call of Duty? Yeah, I'm a patriot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I support our country.
Yeah, but
That's
which
why
Call
I
of
fight
Duty?
against the enemies.
Oh my gosh, this is, man. I saw a post that just said that's like bringing an elephant gun to a shooting range. It's just like, it's so unnecessary and powerful. Why?
She really needs her PowerPoint to, work quickly, I guess.
I mean, legitimately, you want a powerful laptop. Maybe she games. Maybe she has that hobby and that's awesome. That's great. But
sure.
Get the one that doesn't have the ROG logo glowing on the back.
Or again, lean into it. Get your RGB keyboard. Get your, water. Yeah, bring your like water cooled tower. Bring your,
She's there with like full pantsuit, glasses, but then like the kitty ear headphones on over her heads.
Maybe that's what she's doing. She's live streaming the whole thing for transparency's sake. What up, Trump Nation? What up?
It's your girl here. Oh man,
right, trial starting. Let's do this. Let's go, fam.
All right, man. Hey, Fox. On a different note, there's just so much good stuff to talk about with that. But
it's just a funny. Like it feels like a hard drive article.
It really does. Although I think hard drive said something about it. Oh, I think they had a
I'm sure they did
a headline for it, and I can't remember what it was. Dang it! But okay, let's get into news. I got news here, Fox. This is something that I personally, legitimately have wondered for a long time. You now know Final Fantasy VII, at least in like peripheral. Yes.
Yes, I'm pretty familiar with it.
The feline character that is riding on a white thing.
Yes.
What is that character's name?
I saw an article about this I've always pronounced it as it's like, as it just seems just at face value, Kate Sith.
Kate Sith,
that's
right.
Always how I've pronounced it.
Now, when I grew up, I thought it was Kate Sith as well.
Okay.
But then in college, I realized I bet it's supposed to be pronounced Cat Sith because it's a cat. And that's
but there's an I in there.
But I was just like, I bet, weird fantasy pronunciation. Then as later in my years, probably in my 30s, I learned that Gaelic is ridiculous. I was watching the show Merlin, and
based on an American English pronunciation. Sure. Yeah.
I was watching the show Merlin, and they were pronouncing Sidhe, which is the fairy folk, the fae folk.
Yeah.
She,
yeah.
That's how you pronounce that. And that's when I realized, oh, that's why it's a banshee, like the banshee and things like that. And like, so, and then I that's when I'm like, I bet you it's supposed to be cat she. Well, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, finally, because they are got voice actors for everything. They finally have to confirm the pronunciation of this name, and the way that they are going to pronounce it in the game is, drumroll, Kate Sith. They are going to pronounce it as it is spelled.
They're going to pronounce it President Joe Biden.
They're going to pronounce it Cloud. It's really weird. It's a bad, terrible. It's
going to be confusing, but it's part of the masterful Rebirth storyline.
But so the way they have it pronounced here, the written down as Kate, as in Kate Beckinsale, Kate Sith, as in the
she's going to be the evil Star Wars people.
Yeah, evil Star Wars people. So Kate Sith, and so a lot of people are kind of up in arms about this. On the list of things that why do you care so much, there are a lot of people that are like, no, it's Gaelic. It's supposed to be Ketshi. Like that's how it's supposed to be pronounced, which they're not wrong, but also
No.
this is a fantasy thing, and so it's pronounced exactly the way they say it is.
It's yes, exactly. It's pronounced exactly the way the creators decide.
So I mean, it's like when M Night Shyamalan did Last Airbender,
Yes.
and he did
Oh no,
Aang
we
and
gotta.
Iroh
Yeah.
and Sokka, and he's like,
No.
I'm trying to stay true to the original culture, and they're like, the original culture is America. We made it.
It's
here.
an American show based on a fantasy world. I understand that there are influences from various cultures, but the characters pronounce it this way. Yeah.
So
So yeah, I wouldn't have even known or cared at all
man,
without this article.
in my brain, I wanted it to be Catchy. I want it to be Catchy, but since they're saying it's Kate Sith, I'm like, oh, okay. Like that's fair. That's literally how it's written. So
I would have had no way to know it was supposed to be Gaelic. I'm not sure why that's the character.
The lore of Catchy is a Gaelic, like Catchy is a Gaelic fairy, like in the actual history. Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah.
Again, I probably wouldn't have known that.
But
hey,
this does. I want to end, so I have more questions for you, real quick.
Oh, go ahead. Yes.
The horned fire summon, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
How do you pronounce that one?
That's one that was. I mean, it shows up in lots of Final Fantasies, but 10 was the one I started with. It's one of my favorite games. I always pronounced it Ifrit.
Right.
But have come to pronounce it Ifrit, like the actual, like, mythical creature.
So the one that's really ironic that you've changed it right after saying that Catchy is like, because that's the actual pronunciation of the actual mythical creature. But
well, I didn't know that.
I guess that's true. But the only ones that it says here, it says that some people pronounce it Ifrit or Ifrit.
Ifrit?
Ifrit.
The E and the
Who says Ifrit?
Nobody.
Nobody says Ifrit.
One person on Twitter said that, and now it's also some people say that.
Okay, here's the last one I'm going to give, and then I'll pass it over to you. The main character in 10, how do you pronounce his name?
Titus.
It's Titus.
No, Titus is the official pronunciation.
No,
Titus
it says right here you're stupid. And
wow, cool. I got named in this article. Cool. No, Titus makes sense to me. Like there's a lot of water imagery in the game. He plays blitzball. His like iconic sword is watery. You know, like there's island nations in this. Like Titus with the tide. That's cool sounding. I like that. But Titus is the official like pronunciation.
It's not. I'm reading it right here. They've never given an official pronunciation. And in fact, in the original Kingdom Hearts game, they pronounce his name Titus, but in Kingdom Hearts 2, they pronounce it Titus.
I think you're wrong.
Well, at least this is exactly what Kotaku is saying. They say that in the original 10, they never specifically pronounce his name, obviously, because you can name your character whatever you want. You can change his name.
They never say his name, which has always been so weird.
Right.
Here's somebody on Reddit. So obviously they are very right. Yeah. It's pronounced Titus. It means sun in the Okinawan dialect, just as Yuna means moon. A lot of people use KH2 to back up the Titus argument, but KH2's voice recording was handled by Disney, not Square.
Okay, but that doesn't make anything official or unofficial.
But somebody on Reddit said it, so.
Oh, good point. Somebody on Reddit also said that the Earth is flat, and
I believe him.
All right, okay. What do you got? Well,
in big, huge news, yeah, the Microsoft acquisition of Activision. Officially happening.
Wow. I did not see that. Interesting.
Well, let me find the actual. I had the article right here, but I believe basically at this point, I mean, maybe something else could happen, but right here we go. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has denied the Federal Trade Commission's final request to pause Microsoft's takeover of Activision Blizzard, likely paving the way for the biggest ever merger to take place.
Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals sounds like a special move that somebody was going to use in like an anime. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal! Ah!
In a cool lawyer, like law action anime.
Right, exactly.
That sounds great. So this is shocking. Yeah, so apparently Microsoft will now be buying, if it goes to plan, Activision Blizzard King, which obviously owns some of the biggest gaming brands in the industry. Blizzard, you got Warcraft, right. You got Activision with Call of Duty. King is huge in like
King is the
mobile
actual biggest
gaming
moneymaker.
It is. It's mobile gaming, like the Candy Crush and things like that.
Yeah.
So like this is not really shocking anymore. There's been like other huge corporate mergers that have kind of been shocking also, and so now it just seems to be part of the, like with the grocery chain, what is it, Kroger buying Albertsons and Safeway and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I guess this is just where we are now. This is just people have paid enough money to the right people, and then now they're okay with it. But it's crazy. I'm really curious to see what gets exclusive on Game Pass and things like that.
This is one that I'm not as concerned about as I am like Kroger, because Kroger is number one, life necessities.
Obviously, food is more important than gaming.
And number two,
to the plebes out there.
And then number two, it really makes it more difficult for the mom and pop grocery store, for the corner market, things like that. I think that in video gaming, we have a very different, almost like in with alcohol, where it's like there's this craft nature in indie gaming of people almost want to look for that, individually made one-man game. People are almost seeking that as
a lot of times,
the massive AAA release. And so I think that this will definitely make Microsoft money, and this is going to be a big deal for them. It's great. It's wonderful. But I'm not. And then, of course, Sony is still, and Nintendo are both still huge. This is not going to impact Sony or Nintendo's sales in any way, shape, or form. So I
potentially.
So that saying, I'll just say that this is definitely going to impact the world of gaming. I don't think this is the monopoly fear that people have as much as other things are.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Sony, it really doesn't, I guess it doesn't affect Sony in a lot of ways, where a lot of their major IP, a lot of their, first party, like they just have first party stuff. It's not, it's irrelevant whether or not Microsoft buys Activision Blizzard, because their huge first party games are not Activision Blizzard. Like,
right.
It's not like they can not make Last of Us 3 now, or Spider-Man or, things like that.
The only way that this is really going to impact them is if Microsoft then says that Activision Blizzard games are no longer going to any other platform.
Just certainly possible.
Which is certainly possible, but we are seeing more and more that sort of exclusivity, Nintendo aside, that sort of exclusivity is in the very beginnings of phasing out. Sony allowing a lot of their first party stuff to go to PC was a big deal, and a big, green light to a lot of people to start being a little more liberal with their first party IPs. Nintendo will never do that. They have Nintendo is so protective of their IP. It's ridiculous, but
that's a whole thing. Maybe Microsoft, there was in that document leak from the trial, from one of the trials, apparently, what's his name, the Xbox guy, has had conversations about buying Nintendo, not with Nintendo, but like saying we would, if we had the option, we immediately would do it. And I was like, well, obviously.
Yes, if anybody had the option to buy Nintendo, they'd do it. If I had the option to buy Nintendo, I would, of course. If I had the option to buy something that's going to continually make me that sort of money forever, yeah, sure. Sony
then
would too.
I could be in the next Zelda.
But let me be clear, there's no possible way that they're buying Nintendo.
not without some major shift in something, I don't know. There'd
Right.
have to be some huge, yeah, it would not, it's not going to happen, obviously, but
Not even close.
no.
Even if Nintendo got in a point where they needed to sell, there was an amount of like nationalism that makes me feel like they would go to Sony way before they went to Microsoft.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's interesting though. I'm curious to see what goes on in the future. Should we get down to the nerdy gritty though?
Let's do it.
So, recently there was I'm looking at Dextero article, and it says Wizards potentially removing MTG creature types like druid for religious reasons.
Yes.
So essentially what this is saying is apparently they have already begun to decline the use of witch as a creature type. Because
Specifically, they used warlock instead of witch because witch is a real life thing, and
right.
warlocks. I mean, I think there are people on Earth that identify as warlock,
yes.
but they are not generally. Yes, it's not the same as Wicca,
And so once that came out publicly, they were asked, well, what about druid or shaman? Are you going to stop using those titles? And their response was simply, we are discussing that now. Like,
yeah,
that is something on the table.
Taken from Mark Rosewater, who is MTG head designer Mark Rosewater. Specifically, we're talking about Magic the Gathering. This was just like a question and answer thing on his Tumblr, where it was, it just randomly came up that they decided to just not use witch because of religious iconography kind of stuff. And then somebody asked, yeah, like you said, like, well, what about these? And they said, that is an active conversation.
Here's the exact quote is, we are currently examining that exact topic.
Yes, there you go. There you go.
So
yeah,
today we're going to be discussing, especially as people who are of a religion and of a religion that has religious titles, some of which, like priest, are creature types in this game. Well, we're going to discuss kind of what we think about this and how we think that gaming in general, whether this be video games or board games or trading card games or whatever else, should be handling religious titles and iconography and things like that, and what that will mean. So right off the bat, Fox, how does this hit you? This whole idea of just not using these things as a sign of respect, I guess?
Yeah, it seems like I guess, natural kind of continuation of the decision from WotC from Wizards of the Coast to discontinue using things like the term race and change it to creature type, or not creature type, what they use. They did switch from race to species. Yes. Yeah. Yes. It seems like
which, go back. That was my exact recommendation. Go back. You can listen to it. I said exactly that.
You owe us money, WotC.
That's right. No, just me.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah.
No. So it seems like whether or not you would agree with it's not a shocking thing, because they're already kind of in this realm of like, well, maybe we should, take a look at all of our dialogue, all of our language that we use, including the fact that they have recently announced that in Magic the Gathering, they are changing their internal language from tribal to typal. So in Magic the Gathering, if you create, previously, if you create like a tribal merfolk deck, basically that just means you're creating a deck that is using specific, like its main focus is on the a tribal thing of merfolk. And you could apply that to any kind of creature type, essentially. And that they are changing tribal to typal, which makes sense. Creature type is already a version in the thing, and tribes are a specific thing. So it's, again, so what I'm saying is, it's not crazy that they would also be discussing this. I can understand that this is kind of the next logical step, or just another part of the conversation. What what's hitting me differently about it is that it's not with something like race. Race is obviously a very hot topic in real life, and also the concept of race has its roots in hatred, in literally the concept of race was invented in order to create a hierarchy of value in people,
Right.
and then has been used continually or used for that purpose in a lot of ways. A religious title, I would say, is not the same. In my opinion, like you said, they use the word priest. I'm not a priest. That's generally not something used in like a non-denominational or Protestant
Right.
Christianity. But so let's hypothetically say they use pastor as a
Yeah.
creature type.
I'm
I
pretty sure that is
generally
one.
is it?
I'm
Is
gonna
there
look
a
it up.
pastor?
I'm
Is
gonna
there
look
a
it up.
senior global pastor of operations or something?
Yes.
We
Exactly
need
that.
we need a mega church set of
Joel
Magic the Gathering.
Osteen.
Legendary creature Joel Osteen. Oh man, that would be hilarious. We should have a whole episode where we invent you know, Christianity, the Magic the Gathering set.
Okay, wait, hang on. I'm looking up subtypes here.
I'd be surprised if pastor is on there. It's a little more specific than priest.
Okay, pastor is not. Priest is not either, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I know
There's
priest
there's
is
druid.
priest you
Priest is
hold
used
on.
in titles. There are
It's
definitely the
used in
title
card
priest.
names.
Absolutely, yes.
There's the War Priest of Thune. I can literally name you one right now.
Right, right.
So anyway, okay. So priest is used not in the same way, not a creature type, but
Right.
it's used in their language. And to me, I don't know, like the difference is that priest generally is just like, you can have bad associations with the concept of priests, but it's really just a title. I don't know. It doesn't strike me as the same conversation, or there's the same like hot topic and precarious positioning as race versus species, something like that. So if they said, we talked about it, we're not going to change that, I would not be shocked, especially because they would probably then need to change like the entire class in D&D at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
because druid is a major class in
Right.
D&D.
Right.
It's probably one of the more popular ones. It's used constantly in like the D&D movie had a druid in it and things like that. So it seems like it would be a much bigger change than just changing creature to or species from race. So I don't know. It doesn't seem that important to me.
I mean, I agree with you, definitely. And for me, the issue with race was the conversation that came after that because of the word race. So it would be things like the race of orcs are inherently evil, and
Yes.
oh, sorry, I'm getting a test
Fair.
of it's an Amber Alert test though. It was just
Hey,
you're gonna get yours.
Samesies.
Yeah. So it's just a test. So, nope, turn it off. How many
got
phones
two.
do you have?
I have my this is gonna sound like a joke, but it's not. I have my regular phone and I have my gaming phone.
I have my work phone over here and my regular phone. I'm wondering if my work phone's about to go off, but it's not. I don't know why it's not. That's weird.
Uh-oh.
Maybe it's
Watch
out of
out.
battery. Anyway, so the conversation of race was there is the race of orcs, and they are inherently evil and less intelligent. And when
Yes.
you are then taking the word race and then suggesting that you can make moral, physical, intellectual, like assumptions because of that race. In fact, not just assumptions, you can make guaranteed, like the race of orcs
required for the
are
game.
evil. It says right there they are evil. You know, if you make your own character, you can change it however you want, but for the most part in the worlds, they're going to be evil.
This is how they prescribed it. Yes.
Right. And so at that point, you can see how that would be a harmful combination of words, a harmful thought process. But when you say something like druid is a 2/2 creature with tribal +1/+1 to all other druids, I don't like that. To me, that doesn't give assumptions anywhere. And so I wonder what the fear is in this with using the word
Yeah.
druid, because they use the word knight. There are knights in the world. They happily use the word knight, and knights are a real thing on the world. They use the word like monk. Monks are absolutely a thing in the world.
It's a good point.
A
It's
very
interesting
real
that monk.
thing. And
It's,
so
yeah. Wow.
I wonder, what is it about these specific things that are causing them to rethink it? And I have an opinion on it, and this is going to be a spicy opinion. I'm going to say it.
Oh, real quick.
Go ahead.
Before we get into your nuclear take, I do want to remind us, this is from seemingly an offhand comment from a Tumblr blog.
But it's a Tumblr blog from somebody who
No.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah,
Oh no,
okay.
I'm not saying we discredit it. I'm not saying we disregard it. But I am saying it's not like an official, crafted statement from Magic the Gathering. It probably wasn't like looked at by HR or by, marketing or whatever. Like, yeah, this is a conversation, that kind of thing. Like it doesn't, anyway, let's just put that out there. This is not,
Right. Right.
I can see the disingenuous headline articles right now that are just like, or the really terrible YouTube thumbnails of,
Yes.
what Woods of the Coast is anti-religion, and yeah, they're doing like a big like I'm angry, and it's just like you took that picture because you never make that face in the video anyway. Yeah, so it's not that. It's a offhand comment on a Tumblr blog from somebody at Magic the Gathering, but it's not a, we should wait for more information to but we're talking about it as a concept, not as a reaction to official changes.
And I'm even going to amend my previous statement and say, this is going to, you might knee-jerk perceive this as a spicy opinion, but when you stop and think about it, I don't think it's really that spicy at all, actually.
There's Mystic is a creature type.
So
Mutant.
when I think a big part of it is when we look at people who identify with the name druid or witch or things like this, they tend to be more on the liberal side of politics. And that side of politics tends to be more sensitive when it comes to representation. And
when it comes to inclusion, sure.
Yeah, and how something is represented and how something,
Sure.
like when it is included, how it is being included and whatnot. And so I think, I don't think this is actually Wizards' attempt like race. With race, I think this is Wizards' attempt to actually look at a problem and say, dang, as we look at that, yeah, that is not good. We want to change that. But
Okay.
with this, I think this may be more of a, we might get some like pushback on this. We might get some people upset with this. We should probably just change it ahead of the game.
More of a
anybody says
marketing
anything.
thing rather than a like actual ethical dilemma they have.
Right. Because
okay. Interesting.
that's my opinion. But because when you really look at it again, I personally don't see the line of thinking that leads to, and therefore we are harming or hurting or misrepresenting or feeding a stereotype or something to that nature.
Right. Yeah, they are not, the creature type could, if they decided to, if it was like every whatever, that they're not assigning moral implications to their creatures that are druids.
Right.
Necessarily.
Or racial implications or
racial,
strength or intelligence
things like that,
or anything
where
like that. Yeah.
It's like in real life, I mean, a lot of people have generalized opinions, they're stereotypes, but somebody having the title of pastor does not necessarily mean they are one thing or another. It could mean a billion different things. They could be a pastor of all kinds of different religions. It doesn't even necessarily mean they're a Christian. Like, it's literally a title that is used to denote a certain respect or rank or education level or position of power or status within an organization. And there are terrible pastors and there are wonderful pastors, and there are pastors who are fine, and there are pastors who aren't pastors anymore. And like, there's just, it's generally, when the problem comes in, when you have a generalized opinion, you can have bad experiences with pastors and now not trust them anymore. And that's not necessarily invalid. I understand experiences are important, but also it is assigning a moral or, you know, just a value system to people in general that aren't necessarily going to uh, fall under that category. And so, yes, it makes sense to me that they would think about this, like you're saying, like that's I didn't thought about that as like a marketing or as a like PR move, just to avoid the topic altogether. Let's shift the naming, but they could probably also say we're proud of the cards we have. You know, we don't find them to be, they've banned cards in the past that they've found problematic, like what is it, Crusade or Crusader,
Right.
things like that, where it's like, yeah, that was a terrible like time in history and it was a religiously motivated thing, and so they decided to, you know, ban the card or whatever they did.
There were a couple of cards that they
It's like
banned
holy
and
holy
stopped
war or
printing,
something.
yeah, altogether. And it was mostly because the art. Oh, okay. So, hey, actually, on that note, that
Sure.
brings up an interesting topic here because art is actually going to be a big part of this. This changes the topic in my head quite a bit here, actually, because whatever art depicts on that card makes a statement on what you think this thing is. So
That's a good point.
if you say, you know, druid leader, and that's the name of the card, and it's a black color identity with this cackling evil, you know, person on there, or, you know, or it's druid seductress and she's, or, you know, whatever. I guess at that point, and then, you know, the art is, you know, casting this very sexual character. I think at that point, maybe you could infer some of the things that Magic's, but even then, that's one card.
Yeah, I mean the issue
Man.
comes in when it like, if we're making the D&D comparison, any character, you know, any dark elf, any what's the term? I forget.
Drow.
The drow. Any drow required to be evil. Notably, their skin was darker colored
Right.
than other elves, and they were required, whereas lighter skinned elves could be evil or good. Like lighter skinned elves had the option of, you had an option there, but darker skinned elves you could not. At least as far as the rules go. Of course, you can make whatever character you want. It's kind of the point of a tabletop game like Dungeons and Dragons. You have these guidelines and rules, but you're not, you know, legally required to follow them. And so really, I like, let's use the pastor term. Let's do this hypothetical pastor creature type. You know, if we made that man, a Magic the Gathering set making fun of like mega churches would be hilarious, but that should be the next unset, unfaithful.
Unfaith, that's good. Dang. That's real good, Fox.
You know, you could have your cackling, like, you know, evil pastors, and you have something like a Joel Osteen, or is, you know, include so and so here.
Or let's
you
just
could
say
have
this is a general creature called Arrogant Priest, and it's a white creature, and in the art is a man pointing, and he's got like angry face or whatever.
Sure.
As somebody who identifies with that religion, I would also say, yes, that exists within my circle of this.
Sure.
That is, it's not fully representative in the same way that we talk about race when we say that this race is this, but it is definitely individually representative. That does represent some parts of this title.
Right, and I think the issue would come in if that's the only representation. Because then you could also include caring pastor or something. You know, they'd be bad cards, but bad titles. But they'd be those are titles from like Alpha. But you have like caring pastor, and it's also some clearly of the same, maybe even have the same religious iconography on the uniforms or whatever they're wearing, so that you depict, hey, this religion is a spectrum. There are people using it in bad faith and people who use it in good faith, and people who are, you know, generally considered morally, you know, acceptable representation and morally unacceptable representation of the same thing. Like when you try, like we've said a couple of times, when you are painting with one broad brush, then you're also not really doing good art.
Right. Absolutely.
Your flavor, the flavor of your cards is going to feel a little one note and not interesting. Because now it's just like, well, those are the bad guys, and it goes back a little bit to the Rainn Wilson tweet after the Last of Us show came out, where he's like,
Right.
does Hollywood have a, because as soon as he sees a pastor, he's like, well, that guy's going to be the evil one, and like that could fall right into that trope.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we get back into the real life thing here, if they're depicting all druids as so and so, as XYZ, then yes, that's a poor representation of a real life religious title. But I'm not sure if that's been the case.
And that's literally, you can see me looking off screen right now because this is literally what I've been looking up. I have the gatherer.wizards.com, the advanced search engine here, and I've looked up druid, shaman. There is no witch creature type, but I've looked up witch in name. And what I'm seeing is, and this is where Magic has something unique compared to other, like D&D or, other types of games, is all of these titles have creatures that are of all color identities, white, red, green, black, blue, that have all power levels, that have all rarities, that have all, like, there is this wide representation of what this word means.
Yes.
And so I wonder, like, what is your fear? If you can say, yes, we use druid in a fantasy setting, yes, we understand this is a real thing, but also we are not painting with a broad brush druid in any way, shape, or form. Here are some evil druids, here are some good druids, here are some druids that heal, here are some druids that harm, here are some powerful druids, here are some weak druids, here are some druids of all color, of all style, of all everything, because these are all living beings, and living beings are going to represent all walks of life.
Right.
And we are representing that with our cards here. I think that's just fine. That's good. Like, that's sure great. That's how people live.
The other thing I was thinking about when I was, kind of prepping for this was, I kind of get a flavor, speaking of politics, I kind of get a flavor of like a Blue Lives Matter kind of situation here.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a shaman. You don't have to be a druid. I understand you feel called in a religious sense. Religious calling is a thing. I 100% believe that.
It's very important
100%.
to us.
I'm not saying that it's just like, oh, I'm gonna randomly choose to be a druid or a shaman or whatever. What I'm saying is that when we compare it to race, people don't decide what their race is when they're born.
Right.
What they might get labels attached to them or whatever, but there's a difference between something that is, I guess race has been assigned based on cultural implications more than it is, because skin color really has nothing to do with race aside from just the cultural understanding. But like, there is a difference between a being white and being a pastor. I am clearly a white person by my cultural standards, by just lack of pigment,
Melanin.
lack of melanin in my skin. But you could not look at me and say he's a pastor. A, I don't actually have that title right now, but B, there's not a physical attribute that is tied to pastor. So it's a different element of consideration when it comes to it's a title. Again, it's a title, not a inborn trait or even physical trait. Also, I love looking at just like there's a turtle shaman here. Archelos, the Lagoon Mystic. I love that. He's awesome. He's super cool.
Okay, so then let's shift gears here to start kind of closing this out by asking, how do we think they should handle these titles or games in general? Like, what sort of pitfalls do we think that games could fall into? How do they avoid those things? How should Magic specifically handle these? I will say that games that want to paint broad brushes with these titles, that's where the problem comes in. So if you're a board game and you were saying in this board game, you can be the druid type, and all of the druid types are weaker in strength and are, loving nature and all this other stuff, and you want to say this is what a druid is, that's where you're going to run into some issues. That's where you're going to get some struggles. And that's when we, again, like Rainn Wilson, that's when we get into misrepresentation. Him saying, every time I see a religious person, a Christian in a film, they're always evil. That is a broad brush paint. That is a misrepresentation. That is not showing diversity the way it should be shown. And so I think that's where the struggle comes in. Video games, board games, whatever it is. But what Magic has, what D&D has, is the ability to say, this is a title we are giving. And for D&D, we're saying, and you can be whatever you want within that title. You can be whatever type of person you want to be within that title.
Yeah.
This is just a title for you and with some abilities that you have. And Magic already has and already says, yes, this is a title, but there's abilities all over the map. Same with Witch. The title Witch, with cards that have the name Witch, there are witches that are of all color identities, all strength levels, all over the map. And so they're already saying this is just a title somebody has, and they can be anything beyond that. And I think that's fine. I honestly think that's okay.
Yeah, no, they've already done well with, like, I literally just went to Scryfall and just put in Shaman. And in the first 4, you have Advocate of the Beast, an Elf Shaman. You have a Cursed Witch, Human Shaman, Abzan Beastmaster, Hound Shaman. Like, Shaman is clearly the subtype. It is something that modifies the physical attributes of somebody else, as well as even in their flavor here, the Advocate of the Beast is good with animals and gives them power, whereas you have the Accursed Witch who does fairly, evil things. And like, it's just, they have not really painted with, I feel as though Magic doesn't need to change much here.
I agree.
It does. I understand. Again, I understand the conversation. It makes sense, especially in light of what they've been having this conversation for a couple of years now. But it's not something I would have even ever thought about. Which is significant. I am a religious person and have religious titles in some ways. So, like, put a pastor in there. I think that'd be funny.
Again, the asterisk on all of this is neither of us are druids or shamans or any of those things. But the asterisk, double asterisk, is we are religious leaders with a title, with a religious title. Like, we are both ordained pastors. Neither of us officially hold that title right now, but we are ordained, and within our organization, that just means we are.
I'm a preacher.
Yeah, I am also a preacher. Yeah,
we are preachers,
and we are still pastors. Like, that is, even if we hold the title of and are paid for it or not, we are pastors.
That's
and so
true.
we are religious people, religious leaders within organizations, even if it's for volunteer. And so we do have some sort of understanding in this. And if it were our religious, titles and identification, again, I think that as long as you're not saying all preachers are this, all pastors are this, all priests are this, then go for it, man. Paint us all over the map, because we're all over the map.
At the end of the day, a title is essentially defined by the person using it.
Yeah.
I can't say, even if I disagree heavily with Joel Osteen, we're dunking on him because he's the easy one that comes to mind, or with Mark Driscoll, or some famous celebrity pastor that's known for their mistakes or whatever. At the end of the day, I can disagree with anything or everything that they've done. That doesn't mean they're not a pastor. That doesn't mean I can say you're not a pastor. I could say you're not a good one, but I can't just say take away that title from them because I disagree with you. That's why it's just a title. It's something, they get to decide they're a pastor sometimes, or
right.
In other, I could decide I'm a witch right now. I could be a bad one, but you can't just say you're not a witch. There's no physical attribute that is demanded to be a witch. There's no, things like that. So
I think, and again, we are not saying that we're not trying to take identification away from anybody or agency away from anybody.
No.
We're honestly just saying that as long as you keep the representation diverse, that's how it is. We're a diversely represented group. Yeah,
100%.
All right, Fox, what have you been up to, my friend? Let's get into what we've been up to.
Well, you know me. I
I do know
will.
you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to know. I am most of the way. I am pretty close to the end of Sea of Stars. Obviously, I got to platinum it, but hey, Sea of Stars is a really fun game.
Cool.
Sea of Stars is it's like a classic RPG, like a throwback to like a Secret of Mana or something like that.
What platform do
And
you have it on?
PlayStation.
Ah, dang it. Okay. I was hoping you had it on Steam because we share Steam accounts. Like we
Oh
have
no,
the Steam link,
no,
whatever. Yeah.
I backed it when it came out and got it. So and because I like to platinum games, that's where I try to get most things on PlayStation if I can. So
Yeah.
anyway, what I love most about it is that it is very not brief. Brief isn't the right word, but just well defined. Well,
Concise.
there's enticed,
Concise.
concise. Yes, it is concise. There is not when you are going through this new area you just found. There's a little bit of like, okay, you got to solve some puzzles. You got to get, fight these enemies and stuff. But it is they could very easily have just like tripled the length of any given area before you get to the boss, and it would have felt right in line with a lot of other games like this. But they didn't. They decided not to. And really, what it means is that like I am almost at the end game, and I'm level like 18. Like all it
Whoa.
means is
Oh.
that yeah, that they've scaled back. Like we have this assumption that there's like I don't know what we could probably do like a survey of RPGs and say, well, the general like end game level is 55 or 60, but really that's arbitrary. It really just depends on what you define as the game. And so what they've done is let's take each area and cut it into a third of what it could be, and now it's just the same, but you don't feel as though you're just having to slog through a bunch of enemies or solve a bunch of puzzles for no reason. Like the worlds feel very like just super lean and like well focused, and I've really appreciated that. It also makes each area feel interesting and not like I've overstayed my welcome. Like
Mm-hmm.
the world building and world crafting and level design is very good.
I it reminds me of my son a while back was going through the Kingdom Hearts games and he got to a boss that he was struggling with, and I said, "Well, bud, just means you're gonna have to turn around and do some grinding. Just go build some better weapons and do some leveling up." And he's like, "You mean just like play for no reason?" And I'm like, "No, I mean, and
Not for no reason.
not for no reason, but
kind of.
it made me think like that's just something that our generation has just taken for granted. Like you're gonna have to go grind, man. You're gonna have to go gain levels in
I've done a lot
Pokemon.
of
Got to make
grinding.
that climb to 99. Like that's just the way it is, man. And for his generation, he's like, yeah, but I could also play Minecraft and go do whatever I want to do right now. Like, why would I do nothing for the sake of it? So anyway, yeah, it's just it's interesting. We both have watched. Did you finish Only Murders in the Building?
No, we have not finished the show.
I will just say this. Literally episode 1. I didn't have any reason why. This is not I'm not bragging and saying like I deduced this from the beginning, but from the very beginning there was a character that I'm like, they did it.
You think it's that person?
That person's the one.
We
And I
do
was
that
right.
very intentionally.
Yeah.
At the very first episode, after they've kind of introduced all the characters, as far as we can tell from that episode, we say, I think it's that person, really based on nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have a theory. I will say it out loud. Please don't react in any way.
Right. And but we're gonna
as much as you can.
Right now,
I don't know if
thumbs
this
down
is
for
true.
spoilers. Thumbs down for spoilers. So you can plug your ears.
No, what I'm saying is I'm not spoiling anything. This is just my theory.
Oh, okay. I guess that's true. But your theory
I
based on theory based on information you have through 9 episodes.
Theory based on who I said it was in the first episode.
Got it. Okay, go ahead.
I actually don't think it is this person anymore. But this is who I guessed it would be from the first episode. Taubert. Don't react. Don't react. I think my guess was Taubert based on a single line he said, but my reasoning for that has already been proven false. So
I can say I cannot take the name Taubert seriously.
Don't say anything.
That's it. I cannot take the name Tobert seriously.
Yeah, well, it's not they don't take it seriously in the show.
No, but so that's why I laughed when you said Tobert. I was like, like I can't.
It's Robert
I feel like
with a T.
Yeah, I feel like you've mispronounced Robert every time. It's like you were gonna say Tony, but then realized you were talking to Robert, and you're like, "Hey, Toberts."
That's good.
So, but
anyway,
all this to say that the show's fantastic. It's still fantastic. If like when I say that the quality is up and down between seasons and whatnot, I mean like sometimes it's a 9 out of 10, other times it's an 8 out of 10, sometimes it's a 9.5 out of 10. Like it's always phenomenal. Sometimes it's not as phenomenal as it is other times, but just the quality of comedy and acting and overacting that you get from like Steve Martin and Martin Short, and then the deadpan normality of Selena Gomez right there with them is so well done. Like incredibly done.
She cuts through this I find both Steve Martin and Martin Short to be a little much a lot of times. She cuts right through them and it works really well.
Yes. Although there is one scene where they let her be a little weird too. In one of the episodes where they're like, she's trying to talk to a girl and get information out of her, and they looked at her and said, "Can you do girl talk?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then the girl comes up, she's like, "Hey girl, yes, and queen." And it's so good. It's so good.
That's what it is. There was something I wanted to talk about. I remembered. Wes Anderson put out 4 short films they're on Netflix. I haven't watched all of them because I didn't even know the other 3 were actually him. They really advertised the wonderful life of Henry Sugar as like this huge, like, this is a Wes Anderson film. Also, there's 3 others, I guess. Anyway, Wonderful Life of Henry Sugar. It's all 4 are based on Roald Dahl books. So this is also one of those. What's interesting about it, it's very good. I'll say that it's Wes Anderson. He generally makes good stuff. Sometimes he gets a little too Wes Anderson-y for my taste. Like I really wish there was a little more normality to the situations. But this one, it was like 40 minutes long, and which is a great length for a Wes Anderson thing, in my opinion. Like you don't overstay your like welcome on your weird Wes Anderson stuff. But also what's interesting, and this is true for all 4 of them, there's like 5 actors that play every character. So you have
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Reverse Eddie Murphy, actually, because you said different actors play one character?
Different actors play multiple characters.
Oh, so one actor plays multiple characters.
Yes.
Yeah, so Eddie Murphy style. Eddie Murphy style. Got it.
Yes, and so you have like what's his name? Ray Fiennes, I guess is how you say it. I always thought it was Ralph Fiennes. Anyway.
Ralph Fiennes. Yeah, it's Fiennes.
Ralph Fiennes. I've heard Ray Fiennes. I've heard lots of stuff. Anyway, he plays Roald Dahl, who narrates the story, but also he plays multiple other characters in it. Same with Richard Ayoade and other people. I can't remember their names right now, which is really fun because you're just like, oh, that's that person again. Oh, that's that person again. Oh, and just the deadpan, like not even like something that stuck with me from Wonderful Life of Henry Sugar is when it shows Roald Dahl narrating, it will there's 2 cameras. It will switch from straight on and then switch to the side. But it actively is showing like the lighting switching while it cuts. Like these are not different setups. This is we're shooting Ralph Fiennes from this angle, and then the lights switch as the camera cuts and you see the shadows move and then he just turns and looks at the other camera and continues his monologue, and it's just like this weird meta quality that is also about a meta thing because he's telling a story that tells another story. Like the whole Wonderful Life of Henry Sugar is like 4 different stories kind of nested in one another. Anyway, really great, worth watching. It's only like 40 minutes long, and it's a really nice little like moral tale that is fun and surprising. And
where can we watch it?
They're all on Netflix. These are Netflix
okay,
exclusives.
Cool.
Worth watching for sure.
I realized the other day that as much as I am aware of and talk about Wes Anderson films, I think I've seen 2. Like actually sat down and watched like 2 of them. I need to watch some more of them.
Yeah, start from the beginning.
Yeah.
I think some of his best ones are the earlier ones. So
I watched, hang on, I'm going to swap headphones here because my one just yelled at me for having a low battery. I recently watched the Disney Pixar film Elemental that released last year and is now on Disney Plus.
Right.
And it was a unique film in as much as it was an animated film really trying to communicate the immigrant experience. It attempts to tackle like racism-ish and like stereotyping. And in a very, very Disney Pixar way, it attempts to take a very serious topic and make it understandable for children in like a metaphoric way and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it for that reason. I enjoyed it for it being trying to do something unique and trying to communicate a unique experience in the immigrant experience to children. The animation was obviously incredible. Disney Pixar will never make a poorly animated film. They are spectacular at what they do. Overall, they are just not the studio they used to be.
I'd agree.
And so that's something that I've been a little disappointed with. This is a 7 out of 10 film for me. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun watching it. Well acted, well directed, but overall the writing and the story itself was just bland. I guess predictable, and like absolutely like, oh, 2 people, the forbidden love. You're not supposed to be able to fall in love with each other. No, that's bad. Oh, but now everybody understands and accepts in the end.
But now they do, and now happily ever. Yeah, it just like this trailer just screamed, yes, we're different, but that's okay.
And that's exactly what it was. And like, I bet you they made movies like that in the 60s. Like, this is just something.
Well, sure. That's just a standard, that's a standard just theme in movies, but also that's a lot of animated movies these days because that's an easy theme to demonstrate by we're different from one another. Right. Society might say something, but we're going to go against that. And yes, it does seem as though Pixar has it kind of seems like they have an A squad and a B squad. Right. You know what I mean? Like, because every couple of years they come out with something like Soul. Soul was incredible, and it approached these topics of metaphysical reality and like spirituality in such a interesting way, while also being about soul music and like really honoring that kind of like genre and culture and things like that. And you're like, oh, this is fascinating and not something you could just write in a weekend and it'll make some money back. Like, this is something interesting. And then they come out with this Elemental, or there's other, The Good Dinosaur or something like that, where it's like, what is this? This is, what did you...
Starting from the top, I'm just going to list the Disney Pixar films. Toy Story, Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Cars, Ratatouille, all of those. Incredible films, spectacular, so good in
WALL-E,
so many ways. WALL-E got like the 8 out of 10 treatment, but then right after that, Up.
Really? I think WALL-E is also
WALL-E's great. It's wonderful. It also has the least dialogue by a title character in any film ever.
That's awesome. It's cool.
Second only to, or not second only to, usurping the Terminator, the first Terminator movie. So
okay, cool fun fact.
Yeah, Up is a spectacular film also, and then here's we get the Toy Story 3, Cars 2, Brave, good. Brave was very good. Monsters University, and then Inside Out was, in my opinion, the last just blow your mind out good film that Disney Pixar made.
See, no, I don't know about it. Like, I loved Coco. I think Soul was really great.
I loved
Turning
Coco,
Red was fun.
I loved Coco. I'm not saying it wasn't the last good one they made. They made very, very good ones. To me, Inside Out made me cry. It was like just this wonderful, and maybe it was because I had a or I have children, and so this was like I had just had my third child around this time, and so maybe it just hit me in that way. But
Sure.
Good Dinosaur, Finding Dory, Cars 3, Toy Story 4, Onward, Luca, Turning Red, Lightyear, these were all pretty meh. And then Elemental, like they're all eh.
I mean, obviously, when we talk about this, we're talking subjectively. Like
Yes.
I'm as you're reading, I don't even like that we have to say that. That's just literally fact. We're talking
Right.
about art. It is inherently subjective. Because when you're reading through those, I'm like, oh, I liked Turning Red a lot. I liked Lightyear. I thought Lightyear was a really cool, like, kind of uh turn for them in a more interesting direction than they've done before, you know. And so, but yes, I do agree that there was they had a strong early showing that just every movie was a freaking banger and
And
was
here's what I will
so
say.
different than anything DreamWorks had done, you know.
Even subjectively, I would also qualify with comparatively.
Hmm.
Like I think all of these movies are a 7 out of 10 or better. Maybe The Good Dinosaur less than that, but
Yeah.
they're all great films. They're all fun films. They're all enjoyable movies. But compared to those, I mean, those hits that Toy Story, Bugs Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Cars, Ratatouille, Wall-E, Up, like, man. And so they just set this precedent, and now we're in this point where the last absolute, like, incredible film, I guess, I mean, I'd say Soul and Coco are up there as well. So Soul was 2020.
When
Luca,
did they get
Turning Red,
purchased by
Lightyear.
Disney?
When did they become Disney? Pixar was,
Because I wonder how much of an effect that had on it.
I doubt.
Unlike, you know,
Um,
hey, we've looked at, you need to be making more movies to be more financially viable rather than spending 4 or 5 years on each one.
2006. So
Hmm.
Cars, Ratatouille, Wall-E, Up.
Yeah, but they had some stuff in the works before it's not
Oh,
like
that's true. Yeah,
so I
and
want
then
I'm just speculating on how
it
that might
might be.
affect. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, all
Anyway.
that to say, Elemental. It is a great movie to stream on Disney Plus. I'm glad I didn't
All
pay
right.
for it
Good
in
point.
theaters. Yeah.
Sure. Well, that's all I've got.
Oh, I have one more. I'm
Yeah, let's
playing
do it.
Lies of P. Lies of P is a
How's your P organ doing?
how's my P organ doing, y'all? That's a real thing in this game.
That's a local. That's got to be a localization issue.
I can't believe. I mean, okay, hey, localization team, stop and say we're not calling it a P organ. Hey, look at me in the eyes right now. We're not calling it a P organ. So, one of the things that helps you upgrade and customize your character is your P organ, as in Pinocchio, your P. And this isn't even like you're a child. It's called the P organ. Like,
Yep. It's literally called that. That could mean two different things, and neither of them are what the game wants it to mean.
yes, yes. Anyway, all that being said, the game is a Souls-like in the vein of Bloodborne, and it is very good. I'm really enjoying it. The world is creepy and like very unsettling in a very Bloodborne style way, but there's more character in this. There's an actual story, and there are main characters you're meant to be following, which is a welcome thing in a Souls game, a Souls-like game. The only complaints I have is not a complaint about the game. It's my fault, and that is this game is a more parrying based game and not a dodge based game. And I enjoy and more used to am good at the dodge mechanic than the parry mechanic, and so I'm a little bit struggling with the combat and getting used to the parry mechanic. But other than that, man, the game's great. I love it. It's really good.
I'll probably get to it eventually, and I'm glad it's on Game Pass because it's
Yeah.
not the kind of game I would spend the money on.
Yeah.
Because I probably am not good at it. It's just not my jam.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've seen, it seems to be the best non From Software Souls like.
Yeah.
Like
And
if
closest to Bloodborne.
If you found out that whatever the game company, like, it's just a pseudonym for FromSoft, you'd be like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's just another one of their games. They just didn't want to whatever put their name on it or something.
Yeah. All right.
That'd
Well,
be-
guys, thank you so much.
look.
That's going to be, oh, hey. Hi, Austin. You guys can't see him, but he's in the background. But anyway, that's it for us, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for all your support in all of this. We want to say a big thank you to Granger for the use of our theme song, All My Friends Have Wi-Fi, and so do most of my neighbors, off of the album Dear Sam. It is a very good song, and they also have a lot of new stuff coming out. So check out Granger. They're on YouTube. Just Granger Band, I think is what it is on YouTube.
Sure, yeah. You're going to get a lot of, there's another band or another country artist. There's a country artist named Granger or something like that. But anyway, they're great. They're good friends. I miss them. Hey, there are a lot of ways you can support what we do here on the Nerdy Gritty. And the major way is by going to savepointmin.com. SavePoint Ministries. I never remember the full title, if it's Min or Ministries. SavePoint Min is whatever. But SavePointMinistries.com. SavePoint Ministries is the organization behind Nerdy Gritty. It is an organization that Steve founded. That's him right there. The whole deal is, hey, we think community is very important, particularly Christian community. And we understand that online community can be very good, very, very good for people. It can be life-saving sometimes. But we don't think it should end there. That community should be in person, should be very personal and very real life focused, IRL, if you will. And so the SavePoint Ministries endeavors to connect people who have mostly online communities, mostly online friendships, with people in person as well. And part of what we do is streaming and the Nerdy Gritty and things like that. So if you would like to support the Nerdy Gritty, all that to say is go to SavePointMinistries.com. You can contribute financially to that, or you can subscribe on Twitch. It's also great. You can tell a friend, hey, I watched this stream. They had this interesting discussion about religion in Magic the Gathering. You don't get that kind of conversation a lot of places. They were wrong about everything, but it was still interesting. That's fine. You can say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, invite a friend, or just be here for the next stream, that kind of thing. Be a part of the conversation. We love doing that. Jump on the SavePoint Ministries Discord would be really cool. We got lots of stuff going on. But yes, thank you for whatever way you can support us, even if that's just being a part of the conversation here. We greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you again, everybody. And always remember that save games, save lives.
Bye.
My voice sings all night, and this is what my heart sounds like. It's what my heart sounds like. It's what my heart sounds.
All right, everybody. Hey, we didn't have anybody in the chat, so we're going to go ahead and end it here. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you later. Bye.